Well, speaking of our next topic, we will be talking now about Pentecost, a day or a life, and really trying to open ourselves to something more. And when Deacon Matt and I were talking about planning for the session, and we were like, the Holy Spirit gets one day of recognition, and the Holy Spirit plays such a prominent role in our lives, or should play such a prominent role in our lives. And so we really wanted to reinforce the fact that while we do pause on Pentecost and think about the Holy Spirit and hear about the Holy Spirit, we want to try to encourage a relationship with the Holy Spirit, which we'll talk more about in the next topic. But thinking about the Holy Spirit is the person of the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, that we can turn to on a daily basis. So it's more of a life than it is a day. Yes, we pause during the liturgical year, but how present is the Holy Spirit to you in your life? How open are you to the presence of the Holy Spirit in your own life? So I was reflecting on this, and it really took me back to when I came into the Catholic Church. I converted in 1992. And one of the most powerful things that happened to me, I have a lot of stories about my conversion and the actual confirmation day, receiving my first communion. But a friend introduced me to a young adult prayer group. And the prayer group played a lot of music. There were a couple of guitar players and such. And it was a charismatic prayer group. And they were very much in touch with the Holy Spirit. And I think it helped to establish a foundation in my life for a relationship with the Holy Spirit. So one of the events that we used to sponsor for the new members of the prayer group, and I attended one as a new member, was called a Life in the Spirit retreat. And the Life in the Spirit retreat was just an opportunity to go with like-minded individuals and open yourself up to the presence of the Holy Spirit and to be able to recognize the presence of the Holy Spirit. And there were a series of talks and discussions and prayer opportunities and such. Obviously, I think we were able to get a priest to come in and celebrate Mass and hear confessions. And the talks were not too deep on what the church teaches, the gifts or the fruits of the Holy Spirit, which we'll touch on in a second, but more about God's, this idea of salvation and how important it is for us as Christians and God's love. And it was more about just the charisma, the story of Jesus and how we can be open. So there were, I think, 7 talks in all, and it was one of the most powerful experiences. And then I was on the team, and, I would give one of the talks periodically. So Life in the Spirit is, and that's actually a movement that's still going on today. So if that's something that you're not aware of and you're interested in that, you can do some research and maybe find if your parish offers those retreats. They're not just for young adults, they're for everyone. But that was a very powerful moment, if you will, in my life, an event that contributed to my faith journey and helped to establish a foundation for a relationship with the Holy Spirit. And I can see how that's empowered me and really changed my outlook and my worldview to be able to try to let the Spirit lead and be a good and faithful servant in the sense of, I want God to lead me. I want the Holy Spirit to lead me and sort of activate me, empower me. We know the Holy Spirit activates your conscience. So I think that's really stuck with me all these years, even though I haven't been part of the prayer group for quite some time. The next thing, and I mentioned it, were the gifts and fruits of the Spirit. I don't think we can talk about the Holy Spirit without mentioning the gifts and fruits of the Spirit. So obviously we don't have time for teaching on them, but just to mention that the gifts of the Holy Spirit are wisdom, understanding, counsel, fortitude, knowledge, piety, and fear of the Lord. And you can find information on them to learn more. The point is that by opening yourself to the Holy Spirit, then we can operate in these gifts. Likewise, we can also operate in the fruits of the Holy Spirit. So we've got a few more fruits than gifts. The fruits of the Holy Spirit are charity, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, generosity, gentleness, faithfulness, modesty, self-control, and chastity. And I really would love to, and maybe that's something that Deacon Matt and I need to think about, whether we would do an entire stream really getting into the depths of these fruits and gifts. But I can look at my life and I can look at the gifts and I can look at the fruits and I can see where I'm stronger. And I can look at these and I can also see where I need help. And so this all contributes to that lifelong relationship with the Holy Spirit. And ultimately, these gifts and fruits are a call to action. They're not something that we receive and put on a shelf. I was looking around for any mementos, keepsakes from the Life in the Spirit retreat, and I've got a lot of things from my years of being a youth minister and DRE and different retreats and things like that. I couldn't find anything specific for that particular retreat. I do know that I have some keepsake notes that we shared with each other, affirmations. But the point is that we don't receive these to put them on a shelf. We receive these not just for our own good. We receive these because they become a gift to others. And all of this is about relationship and how we interact with each other. And so it's great to be in communication with the Holy Spirit and receive gifts and fruits if we can share them with someone else and bless them with the gifts and fruits. So if we can share our wisdom, if we can be understanding, if we can offer counsel, and the example of the gifts and the charisms, you would call them, of the fruits of the Holy Spirit. The couple that, that I think about, joy. I've been accused of being a joyful type person, and I think that comes from a relationship. It's like a gladness that's not really based on circumstances. It doesn't matter what's going on. Yeah, of course, I'm human, and I have other emotions as well, but I tend to have a joyful outlook. And then patience. I've been told so many times in my life how patient that I am. And it kind of means slow to speak, slow to anger. You can take things in, process, and then treat people the right way. So gifts and fruits are gifts to us. They're blessings to us, but they're also a call to action that we want to share with others. So we're going to entertain questions. We're going to take a look at chats and see if you have any comments. Deacon Matt, any reflections as you think about, Pentecost, a day or a life?
Yeah, I loved it, especially the idea that these fruits and gifts are for service. I remember in 2020, Pope Francis addressed the charismatic kind of Catholic worldwide charismatic movement, saying to them, hey, it's great that we're experiencing the Holy Spirit in powerful ways and we're evangelizing, but the Holy Spirit is also a call to charity, particularly having our heart with the poor, the root of the word compassion or mercy. And here you were saying the same thing.